Hey everybody, this is Dan Cavellis from FibonacciForecasting.com. We are using the YouTube channel Dan the Trading Man on behalf of Fibonacci Forecasting to analyze all the stocks in the September stock report. Before we get started, a few things that I do want to mention here. As you go through this report, you will see all of the different stocks that we have listed. Underneath the ticker, you will see the TOS link. That is a Thinkorswim link. If you have Thinkorswim, you can click this link. You will be redirected to this page. You will see the ticker, the month, and then the year. So AMD September 2023. You can view this in Thinkorswim. You hit import, and then you will have the grid that we add all these levels to for each stock on here. You have the max monthly chart, the daily chart, the 4-hour chart, and the 1-hour chart. And under that technical analysis written report, you will see all the levels that we mention in this grid. So that will help you have a visual to go off of as you read this report along with this video. Additionally, I'm going to add the timestamps for all the different stocks in the description below. So if there's a certain stock you want the video coverage on, you can go ahead below, look for the stock that you want to see the analysis of, and click that timestamp to view that. The last thing I'll mention before we get started is that near the very bottom, we are going to have a Contact Us page. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be, feel free to reach out to me. My email is dan@fibonacciforecasting.com. Additionally, if you do like this report and you want to get October's edition as well, you can head over to our plans by clicking that link, Fibonacci Forecasting /plans-pricing. You'll be redirected to our analysis plans page. We have the stock analysis and the futures analysis. This is the stock analysis. You will hit join, and then before you sign up and everything, add the coupon code. It's in the document, all caps, Discord23. Discord23 is the code. You will get 50% off for October's edition. That's $14.50, basically a Chipotle burrito to get very in-depth analysis on 25 stocks. And as the market changes, we will adjust as well. If there are some stocks that are not performing well, we will drop those and add some better looking ones so that we are all getting the full benefits of using Fibonacci analysis. So on that note, let's go ahead and dive in. We are going to focus on the daily time frame for all of these stocks tonight. So we're going to start with AMD. And this video, again, can be used along with the written report that we have to help you gain a better understanding because it is a complex strategy that we use here and it is proprietary. So starting with AMD, we have a next 50% long of 96.44 and a full 50% long from our swing low back in October of 2022. That is a 93.70, and we are very near that level. So we can focus on these 50% long setups. They have targets above of 150 and 151. So if we can validate these targets by breaking above these opposing shorts that we have around 108 and 113, if we can break above these short setups by breaking above the red 61.8 levels, 112, 118, that will likely lead to more long setups in AMD, and it could help AMD continue higher toward these targets. Now, the much larger target, which comes from the max 50% long 82, that target is 203. So we have much larger targets above here in AMD. This is a nice area for potential long entries since we are on the daily 50% long. And we did break the opposing short on the max time frame. You'll see me reference that a lot. It's important to validate more long setups by breaking short setups. And so we can see in this case, we broke above this 61.8 level of 122. And by doing so, that could help the longs trade and then continue AMD higher. Moving on to our next stock, we're going to have Google. Google is coming off of a massive extension long setup on the max time frame of 85. And that target from 85 is 183. Google did break the max opposing short. We can see again, we broke above this red level of 125. That's going to help longs continue. Currently, we have a potential extension long 50% level of 123.50. That target would be 146. If this setup were to break down, breaking below 119, we may see a full daily 50% long setup at 111. That's going to line up with our 200 simple moving average here. The target from 111 would be a 152 if that setup were to trade. And that could certainly help Google make new all-time highs and continue toward its larger target of 183. Moving into Amazon. This one traded its full opposing 50% short in August of 2022 at $145. We then moved lower to trade the full 50% long 94. Notice we did have a short target of 80 that did not complete. We had a low of 81. And then we rallied from this long setup to retest the short. And from there, we did run into an extension long 50% level around 129. We are seeing that currently test at 61.8 level. If we do break below this and get closes, we are likely going to head lower to that full daily 50% long 113.65. Notice the 200 simple moving average is right around that level as well, so there could be some buyers lining up there in Amazon. If we want to see our larger target above from 94 complete, that's a 233 by the way, it's a very large target. We're going to want to see Amazon break above 155, really get into 160, and get closes above this red 61.8 level to break that short. So 113.65 could come into play. It's a nice daily long setup. But again, we do want to see this full short fail to help validate more long setups and targets above. Moving to our next stock, we're going to have Apple. This one is coming off of a massive extension long as well from 132. We have an extension long on the daily time frame at 178. It then ran into a short setup around 185 and is heading toward its target of 165. So if we continue through the 61.8 level of the long, we're likely going to fail this long setup and then pull into the full daily 50% long 161. We do have a 200 SMA of 165 that could also help get buyers. The target from the max setup 132 is a 207, and the full daily 50% long, if that becomes tested, that target is going to line up just above that max target at 216. Apple did make new all-time highs, and obviously because of that, it broke its opposing short. So longs are valid here. So 161 could be an area to potentially add and take Apple higher. Our next stock is ANET. This has been a great one for us, hitting multiple targets. Currently, ANET has a second target still above at 216, a 50% long traded and completed. And so that next target above is 216. There is an extension long 50% level close to coming into play around 174. That has a target of 210, which would help lead us into 216. If that setup were to fail for whatever reason, the next max 50% long setup in ANET is 144. So we'll keep an eye out for that as well. Moving into Apple. Sorry, we just did Apple. BIDU. This one has been facing immense selling pressure. Going to the max time frame real quick just to emphasize this, we can see heavy selling here in BIDU. It did come into its 78.6% level, what we call the 78 bounce. And from that area has had a nice reaction higher into a short of 151. And so far that short is holding. We are in a range right now between 151 and 117. I would be very cautious of this. We don't want to necessarily be in stocks that are in a range. We want to see stocks that are moving to higher highs and toward their larger time frame targets. There is a lot of potential short setups in this particular stock, so there could be better opportunities elsewhere. So I'm just watching, waiting, seeing what this one decides to do. Ideally, we would look for this to break its short setup by breaking above 169, 170. Really completing this target of 182 would help, and then we could look for more long setups from these areas below. The next stock we have is AVGO. This one is retesting an extension long 50% level, 799. It is coming off of a recent short around 834, and that target is going to line up with the break of the extension. If this extension fails, we're going to have a 50% long here of 669. looks like there's a lot of potential 50% long. 669 is one of them, 539, and 469. 639 is a next daily 50% long. Again, if the extension fails here, we could see that come into play. Net is next. This one, similar to BIDU, plenty of heavy selling. The full short is untested at 129, so we still have a lot of room till we even test that massive short setup. As of right now, we are seeing net pull into a 50% long retest of 56 after trading a short of 66. This is one where I would be cautious and just watch and see what we do here. I'd like to at least wait to see if we complete this target of 85. Sometimes when a stock is facing heavy selling pressure, if I'm antsy to look for a position, I'll at least wait to see if we complete a long target to validate any sort of long sequence regarding technical analysis. But as of right now, I would just watch this and wait. And really, to be more conservative, I would want to see a break of this full short to validate the fact that we could head higher. And right now, we just don't have that. Next, we are going to have crowd. This one just recently traded a next 50% short of 167. And we are coming into a potential 50% long of 156. There's also 138 that traded beneath us toward its target of 172. There is a full daily 50% long at 132, which lines up closely with the 200 SMA, that purple line there. And again, we are inside of a short, so I would just be aware of that short. I'd like to see the shorts fail, breaking above 185, and then testing that full short of 195, see if we can then break above 220. That would help longs continue and potentially become more technical as well. We are inside of a maxed 50% long, and so that is a good sign. Again, if we can break these short setups, we then validate a target above of 374, and it could be a good opportunity to then look for potential daily 50% long setups to enter crowd and head toward that target of 374. Again, emphasizing the point, if we can break the opposing shorts, we are currently still inside those. We got to see a break above these red levels. Moving into DDOG, and again, a reminder, as we go through this video, you can look at that report and follow along with the written side as we go over the technical side. And if you don't have Thinkorswim, if you can't load the charts that we have with those links, there is a daily chart image provided that you can also be following along with. So DDOG came into a full 50% long around 99, 100, and is trying to get some buyers here. It's been tough. The next 50% short has traded at 110 and so far is seeing selling pressure. We ran into a full daily 50% long at 89, and that full 50% short inside of 110 has traded at basically around 100, and so far is heading toward a lower low and a break of that daily long. If we see that break, we could see a target complete of 72. That would be the inside short. The short from 110 has a target of 38. So for this one, just watching, waiting. It would be nice to see if we could break above 122 and then eventually break above 147. Again, taking out those full 50% short setups and then helping the longs head higher. Next on our list, we're going to have GLOB. And this one traded a full 50% long around 177. It is currently testing a next 50% short setup at 211. There is a full 50% short untested at 245. Again, it would be ideal for these short setups to fail and then validate targets above. In this case, our max target is a 438. A lot of room to run higher if GLOB can break above these opposing shorts. On the daily time frame, a full 50% long traded at 168. It lined up with the 200 SMA. I did end up getting long some of GLOB at this point. So currently I'm holding and I'm looking to see if we can break above these shorts and then head higher. There is an inside 50% long setup at 186. That would help GLOB head toward its target of 216. And then hopefully, ideally, it would lead to a break of the shorts. If we do head lower and break below 135, it would basically mean that we should reassess this chart, the analysis, and potentially cut our losses at that point. But as of right now, holding this one and seeing where it goes. Our next on the list is Intel. This one is going to have a 50% short at 46.94. It's untested. There is a next 50% short currently being tested around $33 to $34. That is after a completion of a 50% long. So this 50% long completed from 29 all the way to 36. That's where that next 50% long comes from. The full 50% long is around 32, 33, and our 200 SMA is going to be around 31. So there could be some buyers down there waiting. We'll see what Intel decides to do. The targets above are 43 for the next long. It is about 44 for the full 50% long, which could help Intel head higher and then test this short. And so we'll see what happens from that point. MRVL is next on our list. This one traded a full 50% long at 48. It has then traded the full opposing short at 63.80, and a full daily 50% long is about to be tested around 51. There is an hourly 50% short at 58 that has traded targets 49, also lines up with that 200 SMA. It could lead to a retest of 48, that massive 50% long setup. So we'll see here what MRVL decides to do. Again, ideally, you want to break these short setups. So breaking above 71, 72, that would help MRVL take out the shorts, likely trade more long setups, and validate our target above around 116. The target from 51 is a 76. That would certainly help take out the shorts, and then could lead to, again, more long setups that we could then use as entries to ride MRVL higher into 115, again, if we can take out that short. Meta is the next one. This one traded a 78.6 level to 78 bounce. It has rallied very aggressively from that low. That setup was 96. We are now trading that 298, so $200 higher from that 78 bounce. Now, we are trading an extension long 50% level, 286. And we are in between some long setups. Let's go to the hourly real quick. So we can see a 50% short, in this case a full 50% short, has traded at 303. We are in between the extension long of 286 and this 4-hour 50% short 302. And then inside of that long and inside of that short, there's a 50% long on the hourly time frame, 294, and a 50% short at 303. We're just in between this. So we're in this range on the hourly time frame, and if we break beneath the longs, we'll likely head lower. Break above the shorts, likely head higher. We have some targets at 322, and then 345 for the longs. And for the shorts, we have a 287 and a 261. So depending on whichever side gains the edge here, we could just head higher and keep trading extension setups, or we may head lower and pull into this full daily 50% long around 207. If we do head to 207, personally, I would be looking for potential entries in Meta because it is a pretty nice discount. It's a full 50% long. And the target from 96 is 471. So we still have some room to head higher toward that max target in Meta as we also head toward a higher high. We have broken the full opposing short on the max time frame, so that validates longs to head higher. MU is next. This one traded a full 50% long at 50 and then ran into a 50% short at 73. The full daily 50% long traded at 61.60, and we are in between the full short and the daily long. We can see that range as we look at it. If we break above 79, break into 80s, ideally you complete this long target of 81. That could help take out the short, trade more long setups in MU, and then head higher toward a target of 121. So I like to see a break of 80 and then complete the long target, and then we could likely look for more long setups to then enter MU and go to that target. If we do end up heading lower, if we break below 58, MU could head lower to retest the full 50% long at 50. Going to jump into Microsoft. Almost done with the list. So Microsoft, this one traded a very large extension long setup around 205 and then rallied toward a higher high. So it did break the opposing short. Longs are valid here in Microsoft. An extension long on the daily time frame traded at 322, rallied into a short at 339, and we are seeing this long setup potentially fail. There is a next daily 50% long at 306 that could come into play. We have the 200 SMA around 295, and the full daily 50% long is 290. These are valid levels to be looking for potential longs for the way I like to invest personally. 306 is an area to add. I would like 290, 295, 300. If we get into that area, probably going to be adding into my Microsoft position. We have targets above here from the extension. We have a 388. If that fails and 306 trades, target is 395. If 290 trades, the target is 403. And then our max target from 205, that target is 418. So we still have room to head higher here in Microsoft. I like the full daily 50% long a lot. Anytime we break an opposing short, especially when we also make a higher high like we did in Microsoft, I like when we pull into full daily 50% longs. It tends to be a pretty good setup. It's great risk reward as well. If all of these setups were to fail for whatever reason, then we would likely head lower to retest 205. But as of now, the longs are looking good here in Microsoft at 306 and 290. All right, NVIDIA. This one traded a full 50% long. That was 173, and then rallied to its target of 428. It has a second target of 561, so it could continue higher toward that second target. As of right now, it is trading an extension long 50% level, 425. That target would be 540. If the extension long fails, breaking below 406, 400, we could see a move lower into our 200 SMA of 317. Additionally, we have a next max 50% long 305. I would certainly personally be looking to add into NVIDIA if we were to trade 305. That would be the next valid long setup on the max time frame, and I would be looking to get long there if it were to happen. But that is that. Our next one is PANW. This has been a nice stock for us as well. The next max 50% long setup was 196. We had a low around 200, so basically the area did trade. A full daily 50% long from there has come into play at 228. So the target above is 266 for the daily long. For the max long setup that traded around 200, 289 is that target. If we were to break below 221, 220, 219, we could see a move lower to retest the 50% long 195 or even the SMA at 200. There's also long setups beneath that at 150 and 136 that are also valid. Those are areas that I would look to add into PANW as well. All right, CRM. This one traded its full 50% long at 156. It then traded the opposing short at 219. Like we've been saying, we want to see breaks above the opposing short. So breaking above 241, 242 would be ideal to trading more long setups and continuing CRM higher. A next 50% long has traded 204. That's currently retesting. If that were to fail, we could pull into the SMA at 191, and there is a full daily 50% long at 182. That setup I would like more if we had broken the short. Right now the short is still holding, so that is a threat to these longs that could end up being a failed setup. If we break below 169, 156 could become retested. Now, if we do break the short, that will help longs like we've been saying, but also the target above from 156 is a 385, so plenty of room to run if we can take out this full short in CRM. This is one that I like, I've been holding, and if we could break that short, I'd like to add more as we go. Coming into the final stretch here. STX traded a full 50% long at 59. It then traded a daily 50% long around 61. And this is a setup that may become retested as we are currently breaking a long setup. So 61 could certainly become retested. That 200 SMA is around 62. And then 59 is very close as well. So that max 50% long could also become retested. And the target of the daily long is 79, basically 80, which could help STX pull into its full short setup at 82.50. Like we've been saying, if we can break above this short setup, break above the 90s, that would help STX trade more long setups and then likely head toward its target of 145. Now we have snow. This has been facing immense selling pressure. It's one that I'll just be observing here and seeing what happens. I have no interest in this stock at the moment. There are plenty of short setups that have not traded yet, 218, 269. Those are massive shorts that are untested still. There is a 78 bounce that traded around 130. The 61.8 level tends to be a support area for long setups that are 78 bounces. We're seeing some bids come in around that 147 area the last few times it has been tested, but we are coming off of a 168 short that targets 130. So we could certainly see snow head lower here, retest that 78.6 level, and then we'll see if more shorts continue or if it gets a rebound. But again, this is one that I rather look at other opportunities because right now this one is facing a lot of selling pressure. SMCI has been an absolute monster, heading higher very aggressively. This one did pull into an extension long 50% level at 238. It then ran into a 50% short 296 and then retested that long at 238. If we head lower, there is going to be a larger extension long setup of about $200, and then there is a full max 50% long at 180. I am certainly looking at 200 and 180 as potential areas to be getting long in SMCI. There's been a lot of good reports coming out for this particular stock fundamentally, and the 200 SMA is also around 170, which is close to that full max 50% long. Anytime we have a great run like this, I tend to want to give the full 50% longs an opportunity because the risk reward can be really good. These are opportunities where you may be risking one to make 4, 5, or 6 times your risk in some cases. So 200 is an area, but certainly that 180, I will be setting up alerts and waiting to see if we pull into that level. And if we were to hold 238, the target above is a 413. If we trade 200 or 179, those targets are 431 and 441 respectively. So plenty of room to head higher if they trade and then get some buyers. We got TSM, and then we'll have our last one. All right, so TSM also traded a full 50% long 72.5, ran into the opposing full 50% short 102. It then traded a full daily 50% long at 83. At the time, it lined up with the 200 SMA as well, around 83, and then rallied to make a higher high, but ultimately retest the short and get some selling. We are now retesting the long, so we are inside of a range between the 50% short 102 and the daily long 83. If the long can hold and break above the short and also complete the target of 117, we could see more long setups trade in TSM that are then valid. I would be looking to add into those positions, or those setups, I should say. And then the target above here is 179. So plenty of room to head higher. I'm looking to see if we can break above 112, complete that target at 117, and then I would look for the next 50% long of the sequence and look to go long. If we head lower and break below 77, then we could simply just see a retest of our max 50% long at 72.5, and then we'll see what TSM does from there. Last but not least is Tesla. This one has run into its full opposing 50% short 258. It did pierce its 61.8 level, did not get continuation. I would want to see continuation through that setup. However, what recently happened was Tesla traded 160 and then completed the target around 245. That next 50% long setup ended up trading at 226. Personally, I got into Tesla around 230. That target is a 334, so we'll see if we can get about $100 out of that entry. Currently, we are trading a daily 50% long at 245. If this setup fails, 226 could retest. There's also a full 50% long at 200. The 200 SMA lines up at 205. That is a level that I would add and then see what Tesla does. If we break down below 170, 160, probably going to cut my losses and get out from there. However, if we do end up trading 200, the target is then a 346. And if we can break above that short setup, we would have room to run to 346. And Tesla is one of those stocks that when it gets momentum, it can really get going. And so second targets could even come into play that could lead to all-time highs above 414. So we'll see what this one does. As of right now, I'm watching and then waiting to see if we do break down to 200. I might end up adding more to this. Otherwise, just watching and waiting to see if we break the opposing short. So that's all I got for the analysis in September. Like I said in the beginning, any questions, comments, feel free to email me. Otherwise, I appreciate you checking out our stock report. and I will catch you guys in next month's edition.